Welcome to StoryHubb, where every word ignites your imagination and every twist keeps you hooked. Dive in, get lost, and feel the story burn. When the Leaves Turn Red by StoryHubb. Chapter 1. The Return. 7 years. That's how long it had been since I left Willow Ridge behind. And now, here I was again driving the same winding road. The trees just beginning to turn, their tips brushed with fire and gold. The sky was soft with clouds, and the air carried that familiar blend of wood smoke, pine, and something harder to describe, something like memory. I told myself I'd never come back, but life doesn't ask permission. It just circles you back to the places you tried to forget. My boots crunched over the gravel driveway of my grandmother's old cottage. The shutters hung crooked, paint peeling like tired skin. The white fence leaned, half collapsed from years of storms and silence. Still, the house stood stubborn and unchanged, like it had waited for me. Inside, the furniture was still draped in white sheets, soft shapes lost beneath layers of dust and time. I didn't take them off. Not yet. I dropped my suitcase near the door and moved through the stillness like a ghost. Everything felt exactly as I'd left it and completely different at the same time. I walked out to the back porch and sat on the old swing. The chain creaked beneath my weight. Beyond the railing, the forest stretched wide, trees shifting gently in the wind. Their leaves were beginning to blush red, the kind of red Willow Ridge was known for, the kind that signaled endings. I stayed there for a long time, watching the wind move through the branches like breath. There was no noise except the rustle of leaves and the creak of wood beneath me. But it didn't feel peaceful. It felt expectant, like the past was waiting just beyond the trees. That night I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too full. I found the letter Gran had left me in her will, tucked in a book on the windowsill. It was short, just one line, written in her delicate cursive. Some things you bury still grow. I didn't understand what she meant, not really, but I felt it settle in my chest like a seed waiting to bloom. The next morning I wandered into town. The streets were mostly the same small shops with crooked signs, the same cracked sidewalk in front of the bakery. People glanced my way as I passed. Some looked surprised, some curious. A few even smiled. But I didn't stop to talk. I ended up at the corner cafe. It hadn't changed. Same green tiles. Same quiet hum. I ordered a cup of tea and found a table by the window. The light filtered in soft and warm, and for a while, I just watched people pass outside. Eventually, I pulled out my sketchbook. Drawing had always been a kind of therapy for me, a way to quiet the noise in my head. I let my pencil move, slowly sketching the outline of a tree I saw through the glass. And that's when the door opened. The bell above it chimed, and I looked up. Without warning, without any preparation, there he was. Ethan Cole. Older now, broader shoulders. His hair was longer and darker, but the way he carried himself, the calm stillness, the quiet intensity that hadn't changed. Not at all. He didn't see me. He walked to the counter, said something to the barista, and then waited. I sat frozen, my hand still gripping the pencil. I could feel my heart in my throat, beating too loud, too fast. I hadn't seen him in 7 years. Not since the day he disappeared without a word. No goodbye. No explanation. Just silence. I told myself I didn't care anymore, that I'd outgrown all of it. But watching him now, standing so close and yet feeling miles away, I realized something painful and undeniable. Part of me had never stopped waiting. Chapter 2. Ghosts in the cafe. I didn't move. I just sat there, staring at him through the golden light. Ethan stood with one hand in his pocket, the other resting lightly on the counter. He nodded at something the barista said, offered a small smile, polite, distant. My fingers tightened around the pencil until the tip snapped. He still hadn't seen me. Maybe it was the years. Or maybe I'd changed enough that I was just another face in the crowd. But part of me knew that even if he had seen me, he wouldn't have known what to say. The barista handed him a cup and he turned. That's when his eyes met mine. It was just for a second. A flicker. His steps faltered barely. But it was enough. He remembered. I looked down quickly, pretending to brush graphite dust from the page. But my heart was thudding like a drum in my chest. I could feel his gaze still on me, heavy and hesitant. The door chimed again. Someone else entered, and the moment passed. He turned and walked out, coffee in hand, disappearing just as suddenly as he'd come. I sat there for a long time afterward, unable to draw, unable to think. The tree outside the window blurred through the fog in my eyes. It was like seeing a ghost. A breathing, moving ghost. Back home, I didn't speak. I made tea. I didn't drink and stared at the flame of a candle until my eyes ached. I kept hearing the creak of the swing, the rustle of the trees. But I knew what haunted me wasn't outside, it was inside. And worse than the memories were the questions. The ones I had buried with time. Why had he left? Why without a word? Why now? Why was he back? That night, I pulled Gran's letter from the book and read it again. Some things you bury still grow. Maybe Ethan was one of them. Chapter 3. Familiar strangers. The next day was colder. I wrapped myself in Gran's old cardigan before stepping out. It still smelled faintly of lavender and firewood. A strange comfort I hadn't expected to miss. I didn't intend to see him again so soon. I was only walking, letting my feet guide me, past the edge of town and through the forest trail that curved along the ridge. The trees here were taller, the air sharper. I used to come here with Gran when I was a kid. We'd collect leaves and talk about nothing and everything. I didn't hear him until we were close. The sound of twigs cracking underfoot. A slow, deliberate pace. When I looked up, Ethan was there. A few yards ahead, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes meeting mine with quiet surprise. We stopped. Neither of us said anything. Didn't expect to see anyone up here, he said finally. Me neither. His voice was deeper than I remembered, lower, steadier. It caught me off guard. There was a pause. The wind rustled the trees between us. Then he took a step closer, and I didn't move away. You're back, he said. For now. Another pause. I didn't ask why he was here, and he didn't ask why I was. We stood in the space between who we were and who we'd become, both unsure of the bridge. I didn't think I'd run into you, I said quietly. Same. He looked like he wanted to say more. Maybe I did too. But instead he nodded once, gave a faint smile that didn't reach his eyes, and continued walking down the trail. I watched him go, the silence echoing louder than any words could. Chapter 4. Letters and Leaves. That evening, I found another letter. It was hidden behind the mirror in Gran's bedroom, tucked into the frame like it had been waiting to be discovered. This one was longer. My darling girl, it began. If you're reading this, it means the house is yours now. And with it, everything I never said out loud. I sat on the bed, the paper trembling slightly in my hands. I know you carry more than you show. It's a gift and a burden. But this house, this place, has always had a way of helping people find what they didn't know they were looking for. I read the words again and again. The leaves outside the window glowed red with the sunset. That color so vivid, so final, reminded me that endings could also be beginnings in disguise. I thought of Ethan's face, the way he hesitated on the trail, the way his eyes had softened, just slightly, when they met mine. I placed the letter behind the mirror, not to forget it, but to keep it safe, like a promise. Later, I stood on the porch swing again. The wind was colder now. The sky above the forest was turning to ash, streaked with the last blush of daylight. I closed my eyes and listened. Somewhere deep in the woods, a bird called. The leaves whispered their secrets. And for a moment, I wasn't haunted. I was just here, alive. Chapter 5. Echoes of Then. I didn't sleep again that night. Instead, I lay on the couch in the front room, the curtains half drawn, letting moonlight spill across the floor. I stared at the ceiling and let the memories in. Ethan and I had spent so many afternoons in these woods. That cafe, the high school bleachers at dusk. We used to dream together. We used to believe the world would wait for us. But it hadn't. I remembered the last time I saw him. We were supposed to meet by the river. I waited an hour. 2. He never came. And he never said why. I turned over and pulled the blanket tighter. In the morning, I went back to the cafe. Not because I wanted to see him, I told myself, just because the tea was good. Because I liked the light through the window. Because the silence there matched mine. But when I stepped inside, he was already there. Same table. Same quiet posture. His gaze lifted as I entered. And this time, he nodded. Just once, like a truce. I sat at my usual spot across the room. We didn't speak. But the silence between us felt different now. Less like distance. More like a bridge still under construction. I opened my sketchbook. This time, I drew the outline of a boy and a girl on a swing beneath red leaves. Their faces were left unfinished. Intentionally. Some stories take time to tell. Some endings unravel slowly, until you realize they were beginnings all along.